ES6 comes with a lot of features we'd like to use. I'm only going to show you what you'll need right at the start. There are more features than the ones I'm about to introduce, but I'll show you those as the course progresses. In this lecture, we're going to start talking about the changes to variables. I'm going to be working inside the index file. Make sure any code inside this file is commented out. As you may know, variables are created using the var keyword. I'm going to create a variable named foo and assign it to the string hello. Then I'm going to log this variable. This is pretty basic, but it's very difficult to control. This is a problem with JavaScript. It's a very relaxed language and is not strict at all. You could just turn on strict mode, but that only does so much. Right after we define this variable, we can change the value of it to something like the number 5. In this example, that's fine and all, but it becomes a problem when you're working with larger applications. Throughout this course, we'll be loading hundreds of JavaScript variables and you'll find yourself needing more control than usual. I'm going to run the command node app/index. You'll see that the number 5 is being outputted. This is the expected behavior so far. Even though there are different ways to define variables, it's not like those methods are completely replacing the var keyword. Using the var keyword is still completely valid JavaScript code and will continue to be supported for many years. I just wanted you to be aware of that. Alright, let's start things off by learning about the const keyword. The keyword const is short for constant. Constants in JavaScript work the same exact way constants work in PHP. I assume for the most part you understand what constants are. Constants allow you to create variables that never change. They can never be changed after being defined. If you try to change the value of a constant, then you'll be given an error and the value would still stay the same. Using a constant is fairly easy. All you have to do is change the keyword from var to const. That's all you have to do. Everything else is still the same. You can set the constant to any kind of value you want. It can be a string, number, array, and even an object. Let's test this out by running node app/index. After running this, we'll get an error. The error is telling us that you can't change the value of a constant, which is what we're doing in our code. I'm going to comment out this code and then run the command again. After running it, we'll see no errors and the constant is working as expected. Throughout this course, you'll see me using constants a lot. Actually, if you were to view any tutorials or look at other people's code, then you'll notice that constants are widely adopted. You'll definitely get a lot of practice using constants and you'll be fairly confident using them. By using constants, we assure ourselves that we have more control over how our variables are set. So far, we've only tested this with Node. Using constants on browsers is a different story. I'm going to run my code through Webpack. You should see a success message. Let's check out the page. If you look at the console, then you'll see the number being outputted onto the console. Here's the thing. Constants are an ES6 feature. Webpack and Babel help make sure your code is compatible with all browsers, including older ones. Most modern browsers already support ES6, but older browsers don't. Unfortunately, Webpack doesn't have a way to force or simulate this behavior for you, so it has no choice but to convert the const keyword to var. So, you may be thinking, what is the point of using ES6 if it's going to be converted for backwards compatibility? Well, there are two reasons. The first reason is to be able to write code for the future. That may seem weird, but eventually ES6 will be compatible with all browsers 100%. You'll want to prepare for this. So when the time comes, you'll have to make very little changes to your code base. If you were to continue writing code with early versions of JavaScript, you'll find yourself behind the pack and spend a lot of time updating your code base. You don't want that. The second reason is that ES6 provides a lot of security and control over your code. A lot of the tools and libraries you'll be using are written in ES6 whether you like it or not. This kind of forces you to write your code to be ES6 ready. Since you're loading so much code, you should take extra precautions. You only want to allow code that should be able to modify your data. If you keep using var, you'll eventually find yourself in this situation where your code may not behave the way you expect it to. There's a lot to be said, but I'll leave it at that. Let's move on to the next way of creating variables. Along with constants, you can also create block scope level variables. That's a big phrase. Let me break down what that means. ES6 introduces the keyword let. Let is another way of creating variables. I'm going to create a variable named bar and assign its value to 10. Using let is as simple as changing the keyword var to let. Just like last time, you can create any kind of variable you want. You can use let for strings, numbers, arrays, objects, etc. I'm going to log the bar variable and then I'm going to run this script through Node. As expected, we'll see the number 10 outputted. I'm going to create a conditional statement. This conditional statement will always be true. Inside this conditional statement, I'm going to reassign the bar variable to 5. Run the command again. We should get no errors, and as expected, we'll see the number 5 instead of 10. What exactly does let do? Here's where it can come in handy. I'm going to move my bar variable definition inside my conditional statement like so. Let's try running the command one more time and see what we get. You'll receive an error stating that bar is undefined. This can seem strange at first, but it's not once you understand what's going on. Let makes it so only code that is on the same level as where it's defined can change it. In this example, we defined the bar variable inside this block statement. Only code inside this block statement can access and change the variable bar. Once this block statement is finished running, then the bar variable is destroyed. This means we can't access it outside the block statement like we do in this log function. Previously, everything was working fine when the variable was defined outside the block statement. That's because the variable was available globally. This is the power of let variables. You can control how far a variable can be controlled. In a way, it adds an extra layer of security. I'm going to move the bar variable back to the global scope and get rid of this conditional statement. Lastly, I'm going to run it through Webpack. Let's view the code on the browser again. As you can see, both variables were outputted with no errors. That's basically it for variables. This is just the basics of these two keywords. You'll find that both keywords are used in a lot of design patterns for their benefits. This course is not really a JavaScript course. I know that may seem weird because for the past few lectures we've done nothing but use JavaScript. However, I'm only introducing you to the fundamentals and basics of JavaScript. JavaScript definitely has a lot to offer, and I encourage you to learn more about it after you finish this course. In the next few lectures, we'll finish things up with arrow functions and modules.